Hey there, how is everybody doing? Fantastic, I hope. Okay, so for this little project, we have three of the primary ingredients of spaceships, people in spaceships, and of course, some space. This came about from me stumbling upon some old books, and these are probably, I don't know, 86, 87-ish vintage, and were a collection of books. There's a whole bunch of them, and they were odd shape. That's one of the things that really stuck out to me about them, even at the time of being a kid, sitting in the high school. Was it not even the high school library, but whatever that grades are, those 5th, 6th, and 7th grade, not quite middle school maybe. But anywho, they were like 7 inches tall by 4 inches across, and they were all about world air power and Soviet air power and U.S. air power over Vietnam and that kind of thing, and all kinds of these books with tanks and tank killer books specific for that kind of stuff. And staring at those books, I was looking at some of the craft and how they were all roundy and bulby, and that they did not look like your sharp-edged stealth implemented shapes that we have today of like the F-22 and the F-35. I know the F-35 doesn't necessarily make me think of a sleek kind of fighter because it's kind of squat, but it does have those sharp, stealthy angles, I guess. And some of the vehicles or some of the aircraft had they looked very large and lumbery. Like one in particular that I liked was the S3 Viking S3. I don't know if the S3 comes before the Viking or after. And I know the Corsair 2, it was in fact a fighter craft, or was it an attack craft? I should educate myself a little bit more on the finer points of these, but it was a more in the heat of the battle kind of a craft, I guess. But it was not very sleek, but it had that big air intake under the nose. In some versions of it had a round nose, where some of it had a little pointier nose. But they did not have that look like a vehicle that you could dance in, you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what I'm doing here. I'm working off those kind of design cues, and I'll flash some of those pictures of what I'm talking about in my babble here, insofar as what I'm talking about regarding some of those design cues here. And yeah, that's what we're up to. But put those in space, I guess. And I don't think they would be jet fighters, because obviously you can't breathe air in, or your jets cannot breathe air in space. So you'd have some rocket powering you, or you could have some hybrid, so you could breathe atmosphere and then rocket when you're in space. Trans-atmospheric capabilities. Okay. So I'm going to use those methods that I've been playing with recently of inking and that wash with acrylic paint, and see what we come up with. I don't know how successful I was towards the end with some of the star field that I was trying to create in the background. It started out okay, but then I tried to get a stipple technique with some brushes that weren't very good for doing stippling. Should have used like an old toothbrush or something to get those stars on there. But you'll see what the little puddles that I made end up having to sit there and clean up after I took care of the video. I got the video put together or shot. I didn't film the fix, because who cares about that. So there's something about that big lumbery craft that's not so glamorous as the fighter. It has a support role, or maybe it's just loaded with firepower, heavy duty torpedoes or something. It's meant to bring these things to bear on a big static structure or capital ship killers. I was kind of thinking of the okay, this is going maybe a little too far back, the old Wing Commander games, where they had something called the broadsword bomber, and it was kind of like a B-17 in space. Had guns on the left, right, and the rear, and you could pop between the guns and try to fend off the enemies. And it was more or less kind of like a flight simulator. So you were sort of initiated in the game by flying these little nimble craft. And then you move into this thing and you want to behave like a fighter craft, and I failed at it miserably. When those missions came up, I thought they would be cool because you could bop between the gun turrets, but it was impossible to hit anything. Or at least I sucked at it. I really sucked at it. So I don't know if I got past any of those missions or just gave up, which was my tendency. That's going back some years. Wing Commander. I think Mark Hamill was in one of them. FMV, full motion video, so that was a kick for a while. They would just record video sequences, and you'd get video outtakes between missions, and the story would unfold. I remember kind of most examples of FMV kind of were lame, but Wing Commander kind of pulled it off. Told a good story anyway. Alright, so I'm just going to try to whip out this black as fast as I can. That's why I'm using the paint, is because it covers a lot of space quick, rather than just, stroking it with the marker, back and forth, back and forth. You know what I mean. I'll throw some water in there to thin it out a little bit here and there. And I'm using up all of the black, and it's going to be time to get some new black soon. These paints are old. I mean, I must have gotten them. I think I got them for Christmas decades and decades ago, and I don't know how it is that I've managed to hang on to them. They just sat in one of the boxes that I just kept taking with me everywhere I went. And I pulled them out recently. I was like, how do I use these? They were not even dry, which is another astonishing thing. They came with that little palette on the side. I don't know how they weren't dried. I've had Grumbacher's, old Grumbacher's, that have never been opened. They were rock hard. Am I saying that right, Grumbacher? I don't even see those around anymore. Maybe they still are. They got bought out, I think. Grumbacher acrylics. Those were awesome. Could thin them out and push them through an airbrush. I'm just filling in the finer points with the tip marker. That paint does leave that shiny, glossy sheen to it. And I just whipped out a little side view for my own reference. Because all in all, I'm just going to pop these open and refer to them in an idea drought if I need something to work on. Let's see what kind of nonsense I've made in the past. I do draw on this pool of ideas from back in the day quite often. It's quite useful. And you can see it's just a simple delta design, just layer up detail and panels to create that illusion of something cooler, maybe something more interesting than a triangle. There's that front piece that the jet fighters often have, like their glare blocker. You can see it on race cars too, and hot rods. And I think we're getting close to my star debacle. Not yet. I was torn on adding color to that cockpit and just losing detail. I wish I had like 5 variations of it. I was scan it and try. Here come the stars. Oh boy. I should have just left it at that. That was probably fine, but then I started doing this nonsense. There we go, after I cleaned it up a little bit. Alright, if you stuck around this long, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time, and we will try to do this again. Thank you. Bye.